Oh, hey, how's it going? Sorry, I usually like to hypnotize myself a little bit before the podcast episodes, but I try to do it before the cameras start rolling. Welcome to the Verbal Journal podcast, episode 131, and it's a public and it's a doozy. I already know that. It's going to be a doozy. I already know that I have some insider information. We'll get to it. Thanks for coming out. Hope you are having a fine time. And if you have never seen the podcast before or heard the podcast before, this is what it is. You know what I mean? This is what it is. So this public episode, I took off last week, so I'm very well rested. I don't get a lot of vacations here at Verbal Journal Podcast Incorporated Productions, Inc. It's sort of a take time off whenever you want, but we'll fire you type of situation. So basically I have no time off. I did, get that week off. That was really nice and necessary. And I was worried I would have too much to talk about coming back, but I think it's just the right amount and it's a doozy. Did I say that already? Okay. I should stop looking over to you and asking you how I'm doing things. Hold on, just asking my producer. I should stop looking over to you and asking you things. Yeah, no, I understand. Say more about that. Oh, okay. Okay. Took off a week. Okay, so let's tell you what you kind of are in store for here. So this is let's break down what a doozy really is. So this is the intro. Let me tell you what we got. Next up, first section after the intro will be the horizontal integration segment where I talk about the main channel, the What's Therapy channel, and obviously I dropped a new video. So that's pretty great. I didn't think I was going to do that between last podcast episode and now. Because I didn't know I was going to take off a week. But I also didn't think I was going to get the video done that quickly. That was quite quick to get that video done about Pryce. So we're going to be talking about the Pryce video. I'm going to give you some interesting stats about memberships and Patreons. I'm going to sort of just say how I've been doing in that regard. I thought that would be interesting, just briefly. And then we got the Goodish news segment where we talk about Goodish news very briefly. We're not a news podcast. We will have a word of the week, a WOTW. We got an extremely fulfilling research segment with so many parts I haven't even counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different articles, research articles, peer-reviewed that we are going to skim extremely quickly. And just honestly, it's like kind of interesting because most of the research articles we go over on the podcast are things from news articles. So I get news articles, hey, report found this. And then like 50% of them don't even cite the report and you have to like find it some other way. But often that's almost where all of these things come from. So it's like very relevant, whether it's current or currently relevant research. It's kind of cool. Like I'll read news articles and I'm like, oh, we went over that on the podcast. Like they're still talking about a study from weeks ago that we went over on the podcast. You know what I mean? So I'm just kind of proud of that. Then we will have a segment called Gasp Watch, which you may not know what that is unless you're very familiar with the podcast. That's where we look at Dave Rubin's YouTube presence and kind of update ourselves with that. And you'll see why it's called Gasp Watch when we get there. Then we'll have a very brief image segment. That's sort of surprisingly brief. We might do another meditation like we did last week. There was a lot of positive feedback about that internally inside of me. And then we'll have a 4-part audiovisual segment. I'll tease the next episode. We got some follow-ups. I did make some mistakes last time or some errors or some accidental decisions. And then we'll have the mailbag. You can write into verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com if you'd like to join that group between now and when we get to it, which is not probably possible because you're watching this. I've already uploaded it. We probably won't have time for improv, but we might. And then I'll shout out the patrons and we'll get out of here. But all right, so let's talk about the Pryce video. So we got the horizontal integration segment here. Let's talk about the Pryce video. So on last podcast episode, I showed you that I had done the first minute and a half, and I uploaded it for channel supporters on Patreon and YouTube memberships. It was fun to share that, to talk about that. And then obviously I made the video. So this is the video. It came out really well. I was super happy with it. It didn't get copyright claimed or anything like that. Feedback was really, really good. I will do a live stream, maybe in the next like 2 weeks or something. I usually do a live stream after each video. So I got some things planned for that, some follow-ups and some explorations of the journey of Better Call Saul video making. But I guess, so let me just talk about like the political side of it. So, because like a lot of the responses, like it was really cool. Like a lot of the comments were like super happy that I went where I did politically, and talked about, the state of the world. And then obviously there were people who didn't like it, right? I mean, you know what I mean? And usually that's because they don't agree with the politics. But there are people, to be fair, who say, I agree with your politics and I still don't like that you got so political. I know it was a lot. I knew when I was making the video, I'm essentially ranting right now. You know what I mean? I remember thinking that. I'm like, this is a rant. But it's interesting because I didn't view that as a bad thing. And I was validated in that because I got like 2 different comments, at least 2 or 3, where people called it a rant, but they were really happy I did it. One person even called it a tirade, but they meant it and like they liked it, which I swear you can find it in the comments. I've never seen tirade be used in a positive way before. But people are saying, it's justified. Like, go on a tirade, please. So, but more interesting question, or a question, is like, okay, to the people who, would have liked me to not go there or whatever. It's just interesting to think about, like, why would I do that, right? Like, from my perspective, what would be the reason to not express my political views? Well, if it's entirely unrelated, then I could see that it would detract from the video. I'm not 100% on board with that because at the end of the day, like, part of what I've tried to express before is, like, these videos they're artistic in the sense that I get to do whatever I want with them. I don't really feel bound by a rubric. So it's really like you don't have to stay focused. You're allowed to. I actually want to do videos that are less focused, that are even more disorienting and confusing in their course. Because this wasn't really that off and disorienting. I mean, some people maybe didn't make the connections, but if you go back and listen, like, I'm talking about criminality. I'm talking about how we treat criminals, and I'm talking about how our society treats criminals, and then how that coordinates with our relationship to justice in general. Now, maybe not all of it's directly related to Pryce, obviously, or even indirectly related to Pryce, but it is all very much related to like the themes we talked about in the Better Call Saul series. So I don't, and I hope it doesn't sound defensive. I haven't really expressed it, so it's fun to kind of explore. But like, that's the whole point. Like, I got to say, to me, it was a very, very successful video because, I mean, the numbers are good and everything, but like, I got to say what I wanted to, and I felt like I said it fairly well in the sense of like, Better Call Saul explores how we make bad decisions, and bad morally or bad strategically or bad legally or whatever. It explores it, and I think that's so useful in this day and age when you see people making bad decisions, wrong decisions. You can think like, oh, that, what's their rationale? And I guarantee you it's similar to someone's rationale in the Better Call Saul series at some point. Like, the show just explores all these different gradations of how people justify bad decisions to themselves. Well, they did something wrong to me. Well, it'll lead to these other good outcomes. Well, this or that. So, could I have described all of that without reference to Kristi Noem or, other sort of like extremely like depraved, like morally incompetent individuals? Like, yeah, obviously I could have, but I want to express my opinions. And like, there's no reason not to. So going back to that question, like, what would be the reason I wouldn't, right? Okay, to stay more focused. It's not really, I don't care about that. That's not a virtue of the video. Oh, the video stayed really focused. Like, what? Have you seen my videos? Like, I'm not trying to waste people's time, and everything in a video, like, I thought had value to be there, but I'm not trying to make it a quick in and out, get on your way type of thing. I don't care at all. I have zero inclination to do that. So it's interesting to think, like, on what basis would I make that decision to not go into my political opinions? Would it be on the basis of, well, I'll appeal to more people? Okay. I mean, there's a lot of people who really appreciated my comments. Like, a lot of people. So they would have appreciated the video less. I mean, I love that people are commenting like halfway through the video, or I got a few comments where people were like, I liked this video, and then halfway through the video, I loved the video. That's awesome to think of a person being like, whoa, like, shit, oh, he's like really starting to speak to me here. Like, that's really meaningful to me. So I don't know how I would possibly make the decision of like, well, I'll appeal to more people, but less passionately. Like, it doesn't matter to me at all. I don't see what the value is. I mean, if the video had 100,000 views after a week and a half instead of 40 because I did that, like, would that be a good thing? Also, that wouldn't be the case. Like, okay, maybe it would be the case, but it really wouldn't. Oh yeah, I can tell you the like ratio. It's like, it's good. I mean, it's really good. It's like 94% likes. So, you know what I mean? Like, people like the video. What is it? 93.9% like, 3,081 likes and 200 dislikes. So obviously more than 200 people probably disliked it and just didn't click the thumbs down button, but vice versa with the like. Anyways, so on what basis would you make that decision? Would you say, okay, well, I'm gonna do, like, would it be on the basis of I don't want to offend people? Like, that would be, or I don't want to put people off, not forget the numbers, but just I don't want to rub people the wrong way. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about rubbing strangers the wrong way on the internet. Like, I don't understand, like, on what basis would someone make that decision? Like, when I'm doing, it's really like, I do paintings. Like, it's like looking at a painting and being like, wow, I really like the painting. Like, you could have done without that third in the top right corner. And it's like, yeah, you probably could have. You could probably chop that off and it would still be a good looking painting. Probably in some sense, yeah. But like, on what basis? Oh, you could have made that orange green. It's like, yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, of course I could. It wouldn't be that bad, maybe. I mean, maybe it would be fine. But, what's the difference? I'm making a video. Like, yeah. Anyways, there's a lot of other things I could have talked about. I just wanted to explore that. And we'll talk about more when I do a live stream. I don't have really notes here to talk about with the video, but it was great to make. What else could I delve into? Got some research. Oh, there's like a variety of things where I don't necessarily think I could have made my points stronger. For example, here actually, I talk about how poverty is a main factor of crime, but I don't really go into that. Like, I don't really cite that much evidence of it. I say there's evidence. And there is, but I don't go into that much evidence. And then I cite an article that's not quantitative, which is fine. I don't remember. I believe this is not quantitative, but I felt a little bit like, oh, am I just like citing this guy because he's from Stanford or something like that? But at the end of the day, I'm not writing a paper. Like, I'm not even, like, I'm making a video essay, but what does that even mean? And what are the standards? And no one needs their like Better Call Saul YouTube guy to even cite any text, research text. So it's interesting to me, like, yeah, like I'll be editing it and I'll be like, okay, I kind of came up short. Like, I could have found a better article, but then, and obviously at that time I could still go and find an article, but I don't. And for the same reason, I might be working on a painting and say, like, okay, I could make that line straighter or less straight or something, but I don't need to. And if I'm not inclined to, then why do it? And other times I will go delve into things and keep working at things. And it's all about, it's like if you see a piece of visual art and they sketched certain parts but then went into a lot of detail on others. It's like that with video essays. I mean, you can just kind of do whatever you want. Like, I went back and got these clips because I was editing and I was like, I don't have enough clips of him talking and being good at talking, so like, I'm always, there's always opportunity to go back in and do more digging around. But
Up shop.
You think I'd be caught dead driving that thing? Looks like a school bus for 6-year-old pimps.
But
such a well-delivered line. And another great thing is I got to talk about Nacho. I got, a fair amount of flack, a justified flack for not really talking about Nacho enough in my series, which is totally fair. I mean, there's a number of characters I didn't go into detail about, and Nacho is a prominent character, so it's totally fair that people were like, you didn't really talk about Nacho enough. So it actually really worked out well that the Pryce video allowed me to talk about Nacho a lot, too. So things really work out like the way they're supposed to sometimes, and that's the message there. So next up on the horizontal integration segment, we're going to talk about just really briefly, how am I doing with memberships and patrons? I just thought you might find that interesting. So here's the Patreon. This is since the beginning. I started the Patreon like just less than a year into the channel because I was like, I might as well just start a Patreon. I'll put things there. There are things from 5 years ago on the Patreon, or 4.5. And then after a while, this might have been, I don't know. Is this when I started doing the Better Call Saul videos? I think it might be, actually. Yeah, it is. Right, because I got COVID, and then I think I started doing the video. And then I got a bunch. This is when the Breaking Bad video was out, May 2023. Okay, peaked at 65. Oh, and we're actually almost back. Wait, these are free, and then I don't know what the free. Honestly, you don't get anything if you're free on my Patreon. I don't, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, feel free to do it just to see what I'm posting. We are almost back to the... That's crazy. I didn't even realize that. Wow, we're actually almost back to where we were at with the Breaking Bad video. That's actually really impressive. Good job, you all. Okay. And then memberships. Okay, we got a graph issue here. We got a real graph issue. YouTube's like, do you want me to show the chart? It's like, I don't know. It's really not that valuable, frankly. You could maybe learn how to display it in the window. Okay. Point is, yeah, similarly started getting members with the Better Call Saul. It's a little spike with the... Oh, wait, the spike was there... Here's the Breaking Bad. Okay. Yeah, for some reason, members... Just people do Patreon more than membership. But you get all the same stuff. You get all the same stuff. There's some stuff, if you go back a few years, maybe I didn't post it to the memberships, but pretty much everything I've gone back a few times and done like compilation posts. So as soon as you become a member or patron, you can see all the, you might have to go back a few posts, but you'll be able to see a list of all the old posts. So a little bit interesting. We try not to delve too much into numbers and information in numerical form here for reasons that are very personal to me on the podcast. So I'm not going to explain that. If you're a long-time listener, first-time listener, you may have a different perspective on that between yourselves. That was confusingly phrased. Point is, I wanted to, we go into some of the information, but I wanted to just kind of let you know how we're doing here, which is fairly well. So feel free to join the, I don't want to say community. Join the patronage. That's not a good one. Join the membership. Sounds like orphanage. All right, so next up we do the Goodish news segment, right? And that's where I talk about good-ish news. And we do this to try to stay current, to try to stay aware of the world, but we're not a news podcast, as I've said before. So we're going to go through it really fast. I just want you to know what's going on. I want you to be in tune with the moon and the earth. And the news. All right, so rapid fire. Let's go. Moldova's pro-EU party wins clear parliamentary majority, defeating pro-Russian groups. Not going to lie, I don't follow Moldovan politics, but that sounds good-ish to me. OpenAI to bring parental controls in ChatGPT after California teen's suicide. Yeah, we need a lot of regulation on these devices. Mamdani seen holding lead over Cuomo in New York City mayoral race, analysts say. American support for Israel dramatically declines, Times Siena poll finds. Charges dropped for pastors who blocked Black History mural removal in Florida. We talked about this. 2 pastors were arrested for protesting the removal of murals. Pastors got arrested for protesting the removal of murals. By the way, those murals on the streets actually make things more safe for people. We looked at studies about that as well. It's just crazy, the world that we're living in. Luckily, charges were dropped against them. Judge suspends Trump administration's plan to eliminate hundreds of Voice of America jobs. Suriname pledges to shield 90% of forests, far beyond global conservation goal. Georgia's highest court sides with slave descendants fighting to protect threatened island community. I didn't know about this, but there's an island where, like, not escaped slaves, but, like, I guess freed slaves, I think, have had communities for, like, quite a long time, including... these are called Gula Geechee communities. I'm sorry for my pronunciation, probably, but the Supreme Court unanimously reversed a lower court ruling that had stopped the referendum to consider repealing a revised zoning ordinance. So basically, they ruled in favor of this community to help them, because I think the situation would have led to them being, like, displaced and not being able to afford living where they were living if the zoning changed in the way it did, was my understanding. But anyway, it's just very interesting. I didn't know there were these communities. Hog Hummock, also known as, I think, Hog Hammock. I'm not even joking. I think it goes by both. Amendments would have doubled the size of... we're getting too much into the details. We try to not do that. Sorry. Republican President Donald Trump backed targeting of a pro-Palestinian campus activist for deportation is unlawful, U.S. judge rules. So that's, like people like Mohsen Madawi, Mahmoud Khalil, Rumeza Ozturk, like we were all out here protesting, and we will continue being out here protesting against this type of thing. And then the judges sometimes say, hey, y'all are right. Yeah, the government just did something illegal. Judge blocks Republican President Donald Trump from cutting counterterrorism funds for Democratic-led states. So apparently we need to worry about terrorism even when the states are led by Democrats. Surprising. Look, his little daddy in the background. Judge disqualifies Nevada's acting U.S. attorney from handling cases. This is someone who was not validly serving as an acting U.S. attorney, according to a federal judge. No matter how much she loves her daddy, she unfortunately does not seem valid. So your feelings are valid, but your position as acting U.S. attorney is not valid, unfortunately. Pope Leo criticizes inhuman treatment of immigrants in the U.S. So that's cool. You love to see a pope calling out injustice. I will always think of this Tom Robbins quote, the author, Tom Robbins, fiction author. He has this line where he talks about how we talk about things as inhuman, but actually the things that we call inhuman are like things that only humans do. Like true cruelty and like injustice that goes beyond just like animal, like eat to survive type of thing. Like we call things inhuman when really it's only humans that do it. So it is interesting how that works. But anyways, good job, Pope. Love to see it. Hundreds of celebrities relaunch a McCarthy-era committee to defend free speech, because we're in a very similar time period right now. 550 celebrities revived the Committee for the First Amendment, because we are literally living through a contemporary McCarthy era with all this oppression of free speech. Judge rejects Republican President Donald Trump's argument and throws out lawsuit against UN agency. The Relief and Works Agency, which has immunity from such lawsuits. Second, U.S. Appeals Court rejects Republican President Donald Trump's order curtailing birthright citizenship. So they want to make it so you have to be born in the U.S., but also you'll notice that being born in the U.S. is not always enough for them. So really, it's never enough. In the last 2 weeks, someone... sorry, there's a lot of names. Someone was shot 7 times in Chicago by federal agents. Marimar Martinez. She was shot 7 times, and she is a U.S. citizen. And the goons yelled, "Do something, bitch," according to her lawyer, and then shot her 7 times. She's a U.S. citizen. She's lucky to have survived, but we all paid for those bullets so that a U.S. citizen could be shot 7 times. So now the U.S. government is trying to charge her. They indicted her for some bullshit. I think it probably won't work, just like the stuff with Kilmar Garcia is not working. They said she drove towards her. Body camera footage doesn't seem to back that up. And they shot a U.S. citizen 7 times. So that's what ICE is doing, and that's what they don't care. They don't care where you're born. They just want to curtail rights as much as possible, unless it's the right of a business to exploit people and make profit. That's the only right they care about. New Zealand singer Lorde removes her songs from Apple Music in the Zionist ethnic state of Israel. Dutch maintain ban on export of F-35 parts to the Zionist ethnic state of Israel. Kilmar Abrego may have been vindictively prosecuted by Trump administration, U.S. judge finds. No, you're kidding. That's the thing. It is kind of interesting. Like, there must be so many people around Trump who are like more kind of like dedicated, like white supremacists with impulse control, who are like, man, I wish you would just stop talking and stop tweeting, because they really do hurt a lot of their own attempts at oppression by making it so transparent. But, you know, that's kind of maybe the duality of this stuff, is like the people who are depraved enough to do like literal fascism. We looked at the definition of fascism on the previous episode, are usually not self-contained and like mature enough to do it effectively, but sometimes they are, and sometimes it doesn't matter. So you still have to be on the lookout. U.S. judge temporarily blocks Republican President Donald Trump's administration from deploying National Guard in Portland. Okay, I have 2 articles about that, apparently. Where judge blocks Republican President Donald Trump's policy to detain migrant children when they turn 18 in adult facilities. Hundreds of thousands march across Europe in support of Palestinians. 30 Paramount employees slam studio leaders for condemning Israeli film boycott. You are aligning yourselves with genocide in Gaza. If you have any Paramount subscriptions of any kind, you should cancel them immediately. Barry Weiss is a bloodthirsty fascist, a bloodthirsty Zionist who will work with fascists. I should be more clear. She doesn't probably care about that. She just cares about being seen as an insightful person. And the reporting they did in the Free Press about the starvation of Palestinians was so evil that as a Jewish person, it really makes me think of how people would talk about Jews during the Holocaust. It was like, she was literally saying, like, her publication was saying, like, they were already sick before the starvation, so like, don't worry so much about the starvation. It's remarkable. Really, it's remarkable. Israeli firms barred from Dubai Air Show. Court releases Tunisian man sentenced to death after widespread criticism. Yeah, people were not happy that they sentenced someone to death for like a Facebook post or something. Tunisia has had huge restrictions on free speech since the president, quote unquote, seized almost all powers in 2021. I believe dissolved the Congress or one of the bodies of the Congress and stuff. So yeah, something to be aware of. Like, you don't want your government to do that stuff. This is like one step forward in fascism from where we're at. And they had to release him. You know what I mean? I don't think in this day and age, I think we've made some progress in how we see fascism, and I think we see it as a bad thing. Johnson & Johnson ordered to pay $966 million after jury finds company liable in talc cancer case. A judge has blocked a Republican President Donald Trump administration effort to change teen pregnancy prevention programs. Not for the better, you might be surprised. They were actually trying to make it so programs to help teens not get pregnant actually had to try to go along with these bullshit rules about like LGBTQ people or diversity, equity, and inclusion, or like gender. Like, they're really like, they honestly, I'm not joking or being flipped. Like, they want teens to get pregnant because like that makes it so it's easier to control people when they have a dependent. They have less freedom of what they can do and what their options are, what jobs they can turn down, more kind of vulnerable, really. So that's why they don't want us educated as well. Is Israel Premier Tech to change its name and move away from current identity? So this is a cycling team that is no longer going to be, I think, owned by an Israeli guy, and no longer going to be, yeah, I mean, even Netanyahu was like cheering them on, so they had to be like, this is kind of a bad look. Wyoming library director fired amid book dispute wins $700,000 settlement. So this is fantastic. Attention snowflakes. This is not a safe space. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think that's awesome. Based on the context, I assume they're talking to right-wing snowflakes that want to take away people's ability to read things. So this is a huge deal. Because we have someone not being punished for something they should not have been punished for. I will never regret standing up for the First Amendment. Good for you, Terry Leslie. A true hero. A library system director fired for having books that can teach people about sex and LGBTQ themes. Like, do you know how important it is for gay people and trans people who are kids to know that gay people and trans people exist? It's really a big deal. And then, like, to learn about sex, like, they don't want us to learn about sex. These fucking Republican right-wing losers, because they don't know anything. Okay. U.S. judge blocks Republican President Donald Trump's deployment of National Guard in Illinois. Oklahoma Republican governor criticizes National Guard deployment to Chicago, saying Oklahomans would lose their mind if Illinois sent troops to their red state. True. Green turtle bounces back from brink in conservation win. Hey, buddy. Beep, beep, beep. You got something in your nose? Just kidding. MIT president says she cannot support proposal to adopt Republican President Donald Trump's autocratic priorities for funding benefits. Burkina Faso rejects proposal to accept deportees or humans that were trafficked from the U.S. International Criminal Court judges declined to release former Philippine President Duterte, citing flight risk. Good. International law is incredibly important. Human Rights Watch cannot accept donations from Aziz Ansari and other comedians who performed at Riyadh Comedy Festival. What a loser this guy is, honestly. Judge signals she is likely to order Abrego Garcia's release soon. This is something I predicted months ago, I guess, at this point, because it's been incredibly clear that this is obviously just like not justified in any way to detain this man, who, by the way, has a wife and child that are U.S. citizens that need him. He's a community member. He's part of a union. He's, it's like let him live. Jesus Christ. Neil Young pulling music from Amazon calls for boycott, saying support your community. What a guy. What a legend. Gazans, also known as Palestinians who live in Gaza, stream back home as Israel-Hamas ceasefire holds. So that's really the biggest Goodish news of the last 2 weeks, is obviously this week we had a ceasefire that so far appears to be holding between the Palestinian people and the Zionist ethnic state of Israel that's been killing them and bombing them and destroying all their homes. Now, I think it's up to the international community to, among many other things, pressure Israel to give full rights and citizenship to all the Palestinians, to give full right of return to all Palestinians to return to their homes, not just from this displacement, but going back to fucking 1948, and to pressure Israel to spend billions of dollars and rebuilding Palestine as the Palestinians want it to be rebuilt. And that should be funded by the United States, the UK, Germany, and other countries that have supported the genocide, that are literal genocide supporters. I mean, we need to make amends for what has happened to the Palestinians. Just like Germany made amends to the Jews. It costs a lot of money. Indonesia to block Israeli team from competing at Gymnastics World Championships in Jakarta. National Guard troops sent to Illinois by Trump can stay but can't be deployed for now. So yeah, it's just a lot of updates on that front. Federal judge rules that Republican President Donald Trump administration cannot put conditions on domestic violence grants. Can you fucking believe that? Like, of course you can. That they were trying to put conditions on domestic violence grants, including barring groups from promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion, or providing abortion resources. You're telling me that, like, the administration of Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth and Brett Kavanaugh and other men don't care about protecting women from violence and other people from intimate partner violence and other domestic violence. I mean, it's, yeah, I guess, oh, okay, I guess, yeah. I guess I could see why that would be, that they wouldn't give a fuck about that. So that's the Goodish news of the day. You know what I mean? That's the Goodish news of the day. Hopefully you appreciate that, because I don't know why I do it. No, I do. I mean, you know, I don't like it. Like, I would prefer to do this podcast and not talk about the news, but it is good to, like, it's good. I don't know. It's like, feels worth doing. You know what I mean? Even though I don't, like, enjoy it, it's like, in the end, it's good. Now we do the WOTW segment, the word of the week. We are back at it. You know, we had a great word of the week last week. It was even a clip on the Clips channel. Check out the VJP Clips channel. Can we get a little promotional thing here? Let's check out the VJP Clips channel for a second. Just check it out. You don't have to subscribe. You don't have to watch every video. Just check it out is all I'm saying. See? Word of the week from last week. We had a great time. Word of the week this week is plenary. Now, what does plenary mean? What? Where? What? What does plenary mean?
Just a few months ago, with respect to the federalizing of the California National Guard. Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority. Stephen?
So that's the thing is, sometimes with white supremacists, you have to reboot them at a certain point because they get very exhausted, because it's very hard feeling like a victim all the time and being like really, really pathetic. I don't know, you know, I know that's not a nice word, but sometimes white supremacists have to be kind of restarted, and you kind of put your paper clip in them and you twist it and they restart. So that's what happened here. We did have a situation like that.
Hey, Stephen, can you hear me?
So it's okay, you know, and it's fine. You know, that happens. Everyone has their days. Everyone gets that way, or whatever the lyric is, and I totally get that. I think that song was written about Stephen Miller. But yeah, what does plenary mean? Because he said the president has plenary authority.
The administration won an identical guard. Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
It's almost like he realized that that's not true. But what does plenary mean? Complete in every respect, absolute, unqualified. So interesting. So under some law, the U.S. president has complete and unchecked authority. Interesting. Huh. Okay. So that's when you go to Google and, you know, you could just go to, you find an article. What is plenary authority? Let's see. Essentially absolute power. Not very many instances of that in the United States. Presidential pardons is one example of it. Okay. Which I think is crazy, frankly. I think we should probably change that. I think that's insane. Congress has plenary authority over interstate commerce. Interesting. But he cites Title 10 of the U.S. Code, which is related to the establishment of the military. Its current form was created in 1956. Does the president have plenary authority under Title 10 of the U.S. Code? No. Okay. Maybe he was referring to this section, Title 10, which gives the president the authority to use the military against an insurrection. Does not have the word plenary. Or does it? Plenary. Okay. It doesn't say plenary, but, you know, it's similar. However, that's not plenary. Right. Because there's posse comitatus, prevents the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, and Space Force from being used to enforce domestic law. That's why, like, National Guard people can't arrest people. They can just help the cops arrest people when they're in these cities. So, yeah, I mean, these cases of the president sending National Guard to cities is subject to judicial review. And that's why federal judges have blocked it. So Stephen Miller was wrong. there is not plenary authority in this over this National Guard deployment, which he probably realizes because he's capable of, like, his brain does function. It just functions towards the goal of, like, him not having to feel like a loser like he did during childhood and stuff. So he does have, like, a functioning brain. It just functions towards, like, a very sad and stunted end. And he's a very pathetic man, is what a lot of people are saying. But the point is, plenary.
Plenary.
Plenary. Plenary. Plenary.
Plenary. Plenary. Plenary.
Wait, sorry, that wasn't the same as last week.
Plenary. Plenary.
I wish I could click it.
Plenary.
Oh. Okay, let's go with that.
Plenary. 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 Plenary.
I think that was good, right? I think that was a good word of the week. WOTW segment. Maybe I'll even post it. Okay. Next up, we have the the research segment, and the research segment is very dense. It's a very dense research segment today, as we hinted at. Let's kind of get into it. We are going to go through every single study as quick as humanly possible. And it's going to be quick because I got other stuff I want to talk about. We got other stuff on the agenda. First up on research segment. What is this? We ignore it. We don't look at that word. Stop putting that word in everything. Sorry. I'm sorry. I know this is a public episode. You all don't know about my issues with that, but you know, it's a long story. Do you want me to cry? Is that what you want? You want to see me cry again, Donna? Okay. He would have the research segment was one of his favorite segments. It was in his top 4.6 favorite segments. Okay, so behind the barrel, new insights into the countries and companies behind Israel's fuel supply. So all of this is public. Feel free to go check out these reports. Key findings: they tracked 65 shipments of this is from August of last year. They tracked 65 shipments of crude oil and refined petroleum products that have been delivered to the Zionist ethnic state of Israel from October 21st, 2023 to July 12th, 2024. 35 of these, or 54%, departed their origin port after the 2024 International Court of Justice ruling that the Palestinian people have plausible rights under the Genocide Convention, meaning these companies and countries were delivering fuel to literally fuel a genocide. Okay? BP was one of the biggest ones. Chevron, Eni, ExxonMobil, Shell, and Total Energies may be linked to 35% of crude oil supplied to Israel since October. Companies collectively supply 66.6, I would guess, percent of oil to Israel. U.S. military, U.S. Continues to be a key supplier of JP-8 jet fuel, primarily used for military jets and other refined fuels. It's not debatable at this point. We've been fueling a genocide in every way conceivable. Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan. So yeah, anyways, like, be aware of this stuff. Be aware of this stuff, you know, and these companies, and maybe consider protesting these companies. Okay, next up on the research segment, hospital staffing and patient outcomes after private equity acquisition. This is a study from just less than a month ago. How do patients and hospitals do when the hospitals are acquired by private equity, by investors, by dudes with big wallets, essentially? Well, after acquisition, private equity hospitals reduced emergency department salary expenditures by 18% per $12 per inpatient bed day, and ICU salary expenditures by 15%. So they actually lowered how much they were spending on the people who help you when you go to the emergency department or to the intensive care unit. because the private equity guys were like, hey, we could skim a little bit of that. We got to make a cut. That's the whole point. Like private equity, you're literally, that's the whole thing of like Marxist like economics and so on. Like people investing money to get more money is what is the problem with capitalism. Not, it's good to invest money to get a use value from a product, to get, to get something that creates value in other ways than just money. But when you are investing money just to get more money, you are cannibalizing your society. Marx said it better. You could read Capital Volume 1. This occurred alongside average hospital-wide reductions in full-time employees by 11.6%. So it's almost like maybe healthcare is not a profitable industry, maybe should not be run like a profit-oriented business. Beneficiaries in emergency departments of private equity hospitals experienced 7 additional deaths per 10,000 visits. So more people dying after acquisition relative to the control. No change was seen in ICU mortality. However, patients in private equity emergency departments and ICUs experienced a 4% and a 10% increase in transfers, respectively, to other acute care hospitals after acquisition relative to control. So, and ICU length shortened by a fifth of a day. And so what this means is if a private equity firm buys a hospital near you, by the way, look into it. See about those hospitals. You are significantly more likely to have to transfer to another emergency department or ICU. 10% more likely to be in the intensive care unit at your hospital, and they got to be like, oh, we got to send you to a different hospital. Sorry. It's like a private equity issue. So yeah, good to know. Bad for the patients, bad for the staff. So maybe healthcare is not a profitable industry that should be not run as a profitable industry, similar to delivering the mail or something. Next up on research segment, teen accounts, broken promises, how Instagram is failing to protect minors. So we just go to the executive summary. Thank you very much. I just want the executive summary. Where's my executive summary? I'm a executive summary. Give me that executive summary. Where, like, really? I mean, summary of detailed findings. Okay. I want the summary without the details. Conclusions? Okay, you know what I mean? Sometimes they make it a little hard. Over the past year, Meta has actively sought to capitalize on the launch of teen accounts, and it routinely points to its 50-plus safety tools. Okay. The majority of Meta's safety features do not work as intended. Wow. Teens using teen accounts are still the recipients of inappropriate contact and conduct, are encouraged to connect with strangers, and lack tools to effectively manage how they spend their time or to curb compulsive use. Wow. They're just like harming us, these companies. We found that young children who shouldn't be allowed on the platform are encouraged to post content that others view as sexualized. Wow, disgusting, Meta. With only 1 in 5 of its safety tools working effectively, and as described, many may conclude that its rollout of teen accounts has been driven more by performative PR than by a focused and determined effort to make Instagram safe for teens. Palpable failure of self-regulation. Are you saying we need to regulate industry? We need regulation. Okay, wow. Congress should pass the wildly popular and bipartisan Kids Online Safety Act. I don't know anything about that act. Maybe there are downsides, but it does seem like we got to do something. Next up on the research segment, report on the extent of provenance research regarding Nazi-looted cultural and religious property in U.S. museums, just from a couple weeks ago. They say review carried out shows that an estimated that U.S. museums hold well over 100,000 covered objects that were looted potentially during the Holocaust, including works looted during the Nazi era. Yet barely 10% of that number currently have publicly accessible provenance research, and probably far less if one takes into account all types of art. Yeah, I think it was at the Kunsthaus in Zurich when I visited there in January. They had an enormous amount of effort put into explaining the provenance of the Nazi looted art. They still displayed it. I mean, because yeah, why not? But they tell you exactly like that it was looted by the Nazis, who it was looted by, and why. And they have a lot of effort put into that. Why, how, when. So there's a portal to facilitate accessibility to ongoing research, but it was closed in 2024. The American Association of Museums, now the American Alliance of Museums. Only a small portion of U.S. museums provide accessible object-level Nazi-era provenance research information on their websites, and that overall accessible publication of provenance research provenance is like the course of people that have owned an object, an artistic object. So, not only is publicly accessible provenance research good museum practice and important to educate the public, but it also is a critical element in ensuring fair and transparent claims process so that rightful owners or their heirs can locate and identify looted items. Very interesting. Would love to read more of that, but we can't. Next up on the research segment, health issues and healthcare utilization among adults who reported exposure to tear gas during 2020 Portland, Oregon protests. A cross-sectional survey. This is from 2021, and they found that persons who reported exposure to tear gas, that's a typo, I think, also reported physical and psychological health issues over a multiple day period. Health issues reported increased with the frequency of reported exposure. So there's a dose response to tear gas exposure. So when our cops are tear gassing our community members, our family and friends and loved ones and pets, because they don't like protesting and I have a free nation at the moment. Just think about this harm that they're doing. This includes slightly higher proportion experienced delayed head or gastrointestinal tract issues compared with the media complaints. Majority reported receiving or planning to seek medical or mental care after exposure to tear gas from the United States cops. So, next up on the research segment, the normalization of book banning. This is a big one out in the last week or two. And it's just kind of interesting to look at book bannings like per state. I mean, these like Republican states just hate free speech. And then you can look at I think they have the most banned was Stephen King. And these are like all the most banned authors and stuff. Takeaways. The campaign to censor books is increasingly routine as individuals and boards capitulate to rapidly expanding pressures to remove books. Not that one librarian we talked about in the Goodish news segment. The librarian director, I believe. Let's just see. I'm just curious. Do they talk about who does it more? Republican, Democrat, parties. Okay, I don't feel like they do mention. Okay, interesting. You would think that's maybe something to mention. Persistent attacks conflate LGBTQ identities as sexually explicit and erase LGBTQ representation from schools. Yeah, so that's right wing, obviously. Not a lot of left wing book banning. I mean, it's just interesting, right? You would think everyone pretends that the left is like gone censorship crazy, but it's actually the right, in my opinion. Okay. So next up on the research segment, detection of organic compounds in freshly ejected ice grains from Enceladus's ocean. I don't know anything about this. Okay, this is Saturn's moon. Enceladus ejects a plume of ice grains and gases originating from subsurface ocean via fractures near its south pole. Long story short, these freshly ejected species of something are derived from the Enceladus subsurface, hinting at hydrothermal origin and involvement in geochemical pathways towards this. Okay, no. You know what I mean? No, I can't. I don't know anything about it. I can't do it. Next up on the research segment, most of the photons that reionize the universe came from dwarf galaxies. This is from February of last year. Also something I don't know anything about, but the identification of sources of cosmic reionization, a major phase transition from neutral hydrogen to ionized plasma around 600 to 800 million years. I don't even know what the units are. I can't do this. I need to stick to stuff. I need to stay in my lane. The rate of ionizing photons exceeds that needed for reionization, even for escape fractions of the order of 5%. Not even remotely conceivable or understandable to me. Next up on the research segment, UN Security Council from July of this year on conflict-related sexual violence, this is extremely important to understand. I believe just to look at the introduction, just look at the overall point here. There's been an increase in sexual violence in conflicts. So it's actually getting worse 25 years after the adoption of Security Council resolution on women and peace and security, and conflict-related sexual violence continues to primarily affect women and girls. We need to always protect all these people, and like from so many vulnerable people that are just like their lives are treated as not having value. Let's just look at the recommendations. The UN Security Council should call on all parties to conflict to immediately cease all forms of conflict-related sexual violence in compliance with relevant Security Council resolutions, and provide the UN with unhindered humanitarian access to conflict-affected areas, absolutely, to reach survivors. And in line with Resolution 2730, ensure that civilian objects indispensable to the survival of the civilian population in conflict zones, including those delivering essential services, are spared from attacks amid hostilities. Encourage all states to adopt time-bound commitments to prevent and address conflict-related sexual violence in line with these resolutions. Systematically monitor sexual violence. Use targeted sanctions. Yeah. So very important to read and learn more about how women and girls have their, and other people, but predominantly women and girls have their safety and personal security violated in these international conflicts over resources and money. So yeah, and they really name names here of who needs to be doing better. So, and lastly, on the research segment, association of 2024 to 2025 COVID-19 vaccine with COVID-19 outcomes in U.S. veterans. So this is from just a few days ago, and they found that the receipt of a vaccine in 2024 to 2025 was associated with decreased risks of severe clinical outcomes. So they found that estimated vaccine effectiveness at 6 months follow-up was 29%. We say 30%. We round here against COVID-19 associated emergency department visits, and about 40% against COVID-19 associated hospitalizations, and 64% against COVID-19 associated deaths. This is for veterans. Vaccine effectiveness against a composite of these outcomes was 28%, with a risk difference per 10,000 persons of 18%. So huge differences in risk if you get the vaccine versus don't. COVID-19 vaccine was associated with, meaning you have less risk if you get the vaccine. COVID-19 vaccine was associated with decreased risks of these outcomes across pre-specified subgroups defined according to age, the presence or absence of major coexisting conditions, and immunocompetent status. So, vaccines actually save a lot of lives and help a lot of people, and it's extremely obvious, and it's been extremely obvious, and research continues to demonstrate that. All right, now we get to the moment you've all been waiting for, if you know what it is. It's Gasp Watch. We are Gasp Watch right now. And what is Gasp Watch? How do you even watch a gasp? Oh, wait. Oh, no, that was Nod Watch in one of my Better Call Saul videos. Gasp Watch is very interesting, okay? And it involves just regular David Rubin. Okay, so Dave Rubin, well-known commentator, may have potentially taken hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars from a cutout from a foreign government, or any government would be bad in my opinion. But he may get his money. We don't know exactly where he gets his money. I'm not making any allegations. But my favorite thing about David Rubin is how he titles and thumbnails his videos. Okay, this is a Rubin report. And one thing I noticed a while ago, and we talk about on the podcast, is he uses the word gasp a lot. Okay? So I just wanted to kind of check in and see how he's doing. So, okay. Crowd gasps as the View's Whoopi tells people how to... So he just loves gasping, okay? Okay, just check it out. Ready? See, press gasps when told Trump's brutal plan. Listen to the View crowd gasp as Whoopi... So it's like, again, just within like days. These are his live streams. These are his full live streams, not even video uploads, okay? We can look at those too. But these are like his main titles of his main live streams. Press gasps when told Trump's beautiful plan. We looked at that one. The View crowd gasps. And then he also has people going silent. So it's gasping or going silent, which are very similar. CNN liberals go silent. People stunned. So that's another one. Stunned. You either gasp, you're stunned, or you go silent. Or you're humiliated. A lot of humiliation, but we're specifically looking for gasping or going silent. Goes quiet. Gasps. Press gasps. It's just very interesting how obsessed with gasping Dave Rubin is. Because when you think about it, these are just the live streams. Okay, and we've only gone back a little bit. Now let's look at the videos on this main channel. Okay, Gasp Watch 2025, okay? I don't know if there are gasps here. I have no idea. Let's see. Maybe not. Maybe he only titles the stream gasp-related things, but not the... Oh, stunned to silence. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, he likes Fetterman. Big surprise. The Zionist. Stuttering. Going wild. That's the opposite of gasping. And, okay, so he doesn't seem to title the videos as much gasp-related things. That's very, very interesting. And this is why we delve into this stuff. Because maybe someone different titles his streams than titles his videos. Maybe he titles his streams because those are his main things. Oh, gasps. Oh, okay, we're only 4 days ago. Wow, he's got a real operation going here. A lot of that money buys a lot of like one overworked employee or... and he hates Greta Thunberg because she's actually been successful in advocating for people to have their rights respected, which is not something Dave cares much about. But now, okay, so interesting. So there's this difference between the live streams and the videos. Now we go over to his podcast, which you may not be aware of. Not a lot of people are, but we've been following it religiously here. Not religious, well, sort of like casual religiously. Before I do Gasp Watch, though, I got to tell you something big here. And I'm just going to go to my own screen for a second because this is really serious. I have bad news for you. His podcast has gone through a significant change. Okay, I just wanted to tell you that face to face. Here's what it was. Okay, so Dave Rubin's podcast is this, right? But what it used to be, and it used to be this. This is me watching it. This is from the Clips channel. You'll notice this is just a month or two ago, and they had this fella who is charged with rape and other related crimes, I believe, in the UK, and he will be facing trial, is my understanding. And he has now been replaced with Dr. Drew, who I guess he's still a doctor. It's surprising. I think the Medical Association should take a look at that. And then Jillian Michaels is back. But, like, she wasn't even a part of it at this time, so I don't know why she was still in the banner. Because she wasn't a part of it anymore. Because she had left. I don't know anything about Jillian Michaels. I think she's from some TV show from 20 years ago or something. But, like, she's now a political commentator. So she was on this. They're all, like, you know, grifters, essentially. And Jillian Michaels left just a few episodes in. And my sense, my understanding from based on comments, and I think someone might have said it outright, was there was a contract issue. And recently, you may have heard about Jillian Michaels left this show that she was on. I forget what it's called. It's on the Patrick Bet-David Grifting Network. And she left it because she didn't like something Anna Kasparian was saying, which I don't listen to Anna Kasparian. I don't like her or find her super useful in her commentary. But, like, she was just kind of talking about Israel, and like kind of Anna Kasparian does have sort of sometimes some weird ways of talking about Israel where it's like, okay, like, well, it's a weird way to phrase it. But in this case, I don't think she was necessarily doing anything wrong. And Jillian Michaels just doesn't, I mean, I think she's a full-on Zionist is my understanding. So she walked off the show. Anyways, that seems to have led to Jillian Michaels now rejoining this podcast because now she's back on it. Not just in the banner, but you'll see. So in this old clip where I'm looking at, where I'm watching, this might be not interesting to everyone, but it's interesting to me.
Really proud of him for making friends.
So she was still in the description back then. Okay, fair enough. Interesting. I really feel like they took her out of the description, but maybe I don't have more recent clips. I probably do. If I go to like here, like when I do watch Dave Rubin a lot, but it's not every episode. Okay. I don't know. It's whatever. Anyways, the point is they're changing up the situation. Jillian Michaels is back on the podcast now, right? And she talks about why she walked off this show and blah, blah, blah. But she hasn't been on the podcast in quite a long time. And Russell is now not on it. And I saw that Russell's actually taking a little bit of a break from content.
So I'm going to take some time off and think about what to do next.
Okay, I have some recommendations, Russell, and I would just recommend not grifting on Rumble, for one, and maybe kind of going back to your roots politically.
I feel like, you know me, my ego will drag me back in front of a camera before too long. You know what I'm like. I'm going to take this opportunity to cultivate a deeper relationship with God, to reflect on what's happening in this culture. And
okay. Does it have anything to do with the charges and the trial that you're facing in the UK? I have been like very confused and sort of intrigued by this project, the actual Friends project, because it is like interesting, like, oh yeah, they love supporting this extreme bigot, this absolute fucking loser bigot. I mean, it's like really crazy. So, this guy in the UK, it's been very interesting, and I'm like, why? So what is going on here? Like, it was sort of shortly after the Tenet stuff came out with Rubin, and then it's like Brand obviously has this huge thing, this huge trial he's going to be facing, and it's very serious charges. So it's like, is he doing this to humanize him? This is the funniest one. We talked about this previously. They literally do not mention whether... I don't think they mention Jews, actually, in the video. we went into detail on that on a previous episode. They literally don't mention Jews in the clip. It's just really funny. I'm not wrong about that, right? I literally think they don't. And then maybe Dave is just doing it to advertise his tequila brand. Jew. Yeah, they literally don't mention Jews. It's just in the title and in the description. It's not, if you type in like then you get all the, but Jews, they don't mention Jews in the clip. So Dave's got a real problem with his clipping and in the titling and the Gasp watch. But anyways, so that's pretty much all I wanted to look at. So, yeah, I mean, it's just interesting. I don't need to, we don't need to watch this. It's kind of like not very fun or interesting, to be totally honest. But should we? Okay, we'll watch a tiny clip. Okay. Let's just see a random clip.
Something that is to moderate the Dems, I'm going to guess that a guy like Bob Iger, actually, that is what he really wants. And that's maybe why he was considering running for president. That as woke as he may have turned the company into.
I'm sorry. It's just so, like, they're talking about Disney right now. Like, it's just, like, so irrelevant. And I don't, what do we watch?
It's about to get even worse with Mondani. That's my point. I am usually a glass half full person. To me, I'm not. I'm not anymore in New York City. It has been kind of a slow trickle here where it's been allowed to get to this point. And now look, and it isn't just blocking streets and making...
Oh, well, he's going to win. And he's the future of the country. We're going to take it back from you people. Yeah, we're going to take the country back. And we're going to start to, like, actually provide for average citizens. So what's this? You can post... 2 channels can post a video? What? Since when can 2 channels post a video? You can collaborate on a video on YouTube? What is this, Instagram? All right, well, that's Gasp Watch. I think that's all I wanted to say. I didn't really have... Oh, yeah, so Jillian's back. Oh, yeah, I guess it's just funny that, like, they took Russell out of the banner already? Like, they just immediately got him out of the banner and the description. Like, they just got him out of the banner and the description. Like, it's just like, he's, like, gone forever. Like, okay. I mean, I didn't enjoy, you know, there's nothing gained, nothing lost, really, at the end of the day. So that's what's going on with Sir David Rubin, generally. And now we go on to the one and the only image segment, and it is the only in the sense that it's a one-part image segment today, which is rare. Usually we have more stuff going on. So this is an image segment. You can look at the headline, even though we try not to read too much on the image segment. We just look at the image. Look at that image. Don't worry about what's going on. That's just a beautiful image, right? If you come home after a long day and your pet polar bear is leaving the house ready to say, hey, we ran out of stuff in the fridge. All right, so that's the image segment. Every segment's different. Every segment's different. We'll skip the meditation today. I don't think you all need a meditation. I'm sure you're very chill already. But we will be doing that more in the future. We'll be doing some calming meditations on the podcast. I don't know why. All right, so let's check out the audiovisual segment. And I got some audiovisual stuff for you right now. First up, very serious, but I think it's important. As the bombardment of the Palestinian people has finally briefly stopped, just want to show kind of what the Zionist ethnic state of Israel did to Gaza. I mean, just look at that. Like, that's 5 years ago. And now this is what they did. Imagine this is your home and your community. Because this could happen to any community. Palestinians didn't deserve this any more than you, literally you, and literally me. We deserve to be bombed as much as the Palestinians do. The exact same amount. No more, no less. So this could be your community if a few things change in the geopolitical situation. So if we don't stand up and say that this is completely unacceptable and amends need to be made immediately, this could be anyone's community. Anyone's community. They can say that there are terrorists anywhere. If we give them that power, the people with power can say that there are terrorists anywhere. They can call anyone a terrorist. They can call you a terrorist, and they can call me a terrorist. They do that. They do whatever they want. Because Israel wants this land. They want an ethnic state. And they can't have it. And as a Jewish person, it's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable to see this done under the flag of the Star of David, like from people who are just a generation or two away from their parents and grandparents who were murdered by a fascist state. It's unfathomable to even see. But yeah. Next up on the audiovisual segment, they got that sculpture back.
A bronze-painted sculpture of Jeffrey Epstein and U.S. President Donald Trump returned to the National Mall on Thursday.
It's really beautiful because a lot of, as we talked about, a lot of men don't really know how to make friends. A lot of men, we can struggle to maintain intimate, close relationships with other men, and to be vulnerable and open ourselves up and talk about the things we find to be enigmas. And it's just nice that there's statues kind of showing men, hey, it's okay to have male friendships in your adult years. It's okay to have, really close connections with other men, and to really kind of explore what that means. So I just think it's really important that this statue stays up And people, yeah, look at people are learning how to be friends, how to commune with their fellow man. And it's really beautiful. You know, anyone can, no matter how old you are, you can find friendship. So that's really powerful. Next up on the audiovisual segment, this is an interesting clip I came across my page. Gerard Richter, painter I've talked about on the podcast before because he's really one of my favorites. He's an amazing painter. You see this type of abstract stuff, but he does incredibly realistic stuff too. I'll show you the nurses one I really like. I mean, just like such a multi-talented, multi-dimensional, like painter. It's really amazing. Oh yeah, wait, okay, that's actually slightly different from how I remember, but I think that is exactly what I'm looking for. That's weird. I remember it being different. Okay. But like, yeah, he just like these are just like random nurses he found in some like book. Acht Lernschwestern. I mean, he's just interesting. Like he does, yeah, really like, I'll just show you like another painting. I mean, just to kind of give you a sense of what we're talking about. So yeah, he's like a famous abstract painter, like absolutely one of the most famous ever, like enormous. But then like he's got the talent to do just like any type of thing. Oh, that's a Richter painting? I forgot that that's a Richter painting. Wait, no, that's a photograph. That's wow. Wow. I always thought that was a photograph. Yeah. Wow. I mean, really, like the same artist doing this and then doing that. Like, it's just like amazing. I mean, really, it's unbelievable. So, but this is not the image segment. This is the audiovisual segment. Let's just look at this clip I found really interesting. Oh, like his stuff sells obviously for tens of millions of dollars. I mean, just like insane amounts of money.
I started very carefully with these. When after this long period, I thought, let's ease forward first, so little. So just, I didn't know what to do.
So he's doing like a walk through a gallery show and talking about his work.
So this was your return to painting right here?
Yeah, absolutely.
What about when these paintings suddenly come up at an auction and you see people?
Is that his daughter, I hope?
I prefer to see it in...
Hold on, I need to make sure. Nope, that's his wife. They were married in 1995. Okay, he is 93. And she is... So she's 56 and he's 93. Okay, that kind of messes with the point of why I was showing this video. That's sort of like okay, well, wow. Oh my God. Okay. Anyways, let's just keep watching the clip.
Museum, and I'm immediately happy. Not in the private collection.
Yeah, museums, they are in a special sense so democratic. You have such luxury for your eyes. If you are poor, if you are rich, everybody's equal.
It's not good, but this is the value of a house. It's not fair.
So he's right. You know, it's insane that a small painting would be the value of a house, which they are. And he's saying it's not fair because obviously then they just hide in private collections. No one sees his paintings. But he's right. I mean, he's right. It's just he's showing off his new exhibit. And it's not clear whether the person filming him or his wife, his 40 years, his senior wife, it's not clear whether they really agree with this whole, like, he shouldn't be charging so much for his paintings thing. So let's see.
I like it, but it's not a house.
Yeah.
She's like, it's how we got our house, though, honey. to be clear, like, this is probably hypocritical because, like, he's extremely powerful and he could control how his art is shown to a significant degree. I would imagine it might involve some sacrifices, but I mean, so it's just interesting to see him be like, my paintings shouldn't be sold for this insane amount of money, and his apparently 40 years his senior wife and the presumably gallery employee filming him are just like, that's how we get paid, Mr. Richter. That's how we get paid.
I like it, but it's not a house.
Yeah.
She looks so uncomfortable. Okay. A lot of revelations from that clip. More than we expected. And lastly, on the audiovisual segment, Dr. Jane Goodall, rest in peace, filmed an interview in March 2025. And let's check it out.
Do you have people that you don't like?
Absolutely, there are people I don't like. And I would like to put them on one of Musk's spaceships and send them all off to the planet he's sure he's going to discover.
Would he be one of them?
Oh, absolutely. He'd be the host.
Yeah, this is what true wisdom and intelligence and humanity look like. One of the really primate. One of the really prime examples of human achievement, Dr. Jane Goodall.
And you can imagine who I'd put on that spaceship.
Who?
Along with Musk would be Trump and some of Trump's real supporters. And then I would put Putin in there. And I would put President Xi. I'd certainly put Netanyahu in there. And his far-right government. Put them all on that spaceship and send them off. In the place where I am now, I look back over my life. I look back at the world I've left behind. What message do I want to leave? I want to make sure that you all understand that each and every one of you has a role to play. You may not know it. You may not find it.
It's really giving me chills. Wow.
But your life matters. And you are here for a reason. And I just hope that that reason will become apparent as you live through your life.
Wow. It's so powerful, and she really knows how to focus on what's important.
I want you to know that whether or not you find that role that you're supposed to play, your life does matter. And that every single day you live, you make a difference in the world. And you get to choose the difference that you make.
She really, like, this is just summing up wisdom, you know?
I want you to understand that we are part of the natural world. And even today, where the planet is dark, there still is hope. Don't lose hope.
For real. For real. I don't even know what to add. I mean, what's there to say?
If you lose hope, you become apathetic and do nothing. Above all, I want you to think about the fact that we are part, when we're on planet Earth, we are part of Mother Nature. We depend on Mother Nature for clean air, for water, for food, everything. For clothing, for everything.
It's inseparable from who we are.
And as we destroy one ecosystem after another, as we create worse climate change, worse loss of diversity, we have to do everything in our power to make the world a better place for the children alive today and for those that will follow.
That's so well put. And I really do think some people are not putting adequate effort towards making the world a better place. And people should be thinking of that as something that's part of their mission. It's not just to like have kids and move on with your life, or to like make a bunch of money and move on with your life. Like, everything that you do matters in reference to how much you are creating a net better place. That's the most important thing.
You have it in your power to make a difference. Don't give up. There is a future for you. Do your best. while you're still on this beautiful planet Earth.
Wow.
That I look down upon from where I am now.
Wow. Chills. Let us all aspire to the success of Dr. Jane Goodall and to have the profound impact that she had and will continue to have. One thing I like to do on this podcast is I tease the next episode. I don't really have much to tease now, but I will. There's an audio-visual thing that's going to be interesting, related to last words of someone at the Nuremberg trial. We're going to look at their last words, see if they did a good apology. They didn't. And then we got a research article already. Hopefully we don't get 10 more and then have to do such a long research segment. But yeah, we got a research article about how they got those Easter Island statues to move, I think. Having a hard time reading it right now. All right, so one thing I like to do also on this podcast is I do follow-ups. And this is an important part of me not getting called out. This is an important part of no one can ever call me out because I'm constantly calling myself out. It is a defense mechanism, and it works, and I recommend it. It's called self-criticism. So, first up on the follow-ups segment. This was a funny one. This was a very funny one. Let's check this out right now.
Like rationalize. I've talked about that in the videos, but I never felt like I really said what I wanted to say. And somehow, not super surprisingly, the Bryce conversation actually...
It's Price. I said Bryce there. I did call him Price every other time, but I'm pretty sure I said Bryce there, and his name's Price. I'll put some respect on his name, and I'm sorry about that. Oh, yeah, this one was clipped in the Word of the Week fascism clip, and it was a kind of annoying mistake to make.
Real meanings. It is also a word, right? That
it was here.
A popular political philosophy movement.
It's populist. Sorry, not really the mistake you want to make when you're talking about fascism. Populist. Not quite popular. And I did spend some time trying to look up just how popular fascism is. It was kind of hard to figure out and find. One interesting thing I found was research into fascism sort of talks about populism almost as synonymous with fascism. And it's confusing. It's kind of a bad name, populism. It's kind of confusing. Anyways, some more follow-ups.
Him in this article. Because, yeah, they wanted to send him to Eswatini. They're just sending human beings to random fucking countries. And then Jamaica was like, yeah, we'll take our citizen back. Thanks, guys. Jesus Christ, you sickos.
Yeah, so just I wanted to say these are the specific people, human beings that the United States government deported to a country they had no affiliation with. These are them. From Vietnam, Jamaica, Laos, Cuba, and Yemen, they were sent to Eswatini. They were trafficked to Eswatini. Oh, but if they've committed crimes, then it's okay, right? That's sort of what I was talking about with the Pryce video. It's like, people just stop caring about someone's humanity if they've committed a crime. These are the men. These are the people who were just sending to random places. Just 5 of them, for instance. Another follow-up. Oh, these timestamps are not going to be right. Well, then what am I supposed to do? Yeah, that's not important. Okay. What... if the timestamps aren't right, I can't continue. I will say. So I'll check.
We recommend that this group should be considered a valid species. So I just wanted you to know there's a new otter. Okay, not much to say there because I don't know anything about DNA.
Oh, I think the timestamp would be like, okay, I think it's like a little earlier.
Trying to take issue with the word cis. They don't realize it's like a scientific term that's used in chemistry and biology and all kinds of different things.
So just for what it's worth, I don't know. I mean, I that's true, but it's like, I just found like a forum, the difference between cis and trans specifically related to birds and species, because we were talking about otters, and they were saying, I sort of said it slightly off, like they can be used as geographical prefixes, like trans-Andean means a species on the other side of the Andes from the person who's speaking, versus cis-Andean, same side of the Andes. It's just interesting. I didn't really know there was that, and I might be still saying it wrong, but yeah, I just wanted to follow up. And okay, and another thing to follow up. People love the follow-up segment.
Hey, when people report that acetaminophen causes the...
Sorry. This is fucking chaos here. Okay, here.
That at the end. They looked at hundreds of thousands of children, and they found that basically statistical manipulation is at play when people report that acetaminophen causes these conditions. Because basically they found without sibling control, so without controlling for whether people were genetically related, or without...
So I just didn't explain that super clearly. So if you look here, Autism Science Foundation statement on the United States White House announcement on autism, you can see, if we just look at how they explain sibling control, the design controls for some maternal health factors as well as some genetic influences. Using the sibling control design, any association with autism that was previously seen disappeared. This suggests that genetic and maternal health factors are also critical in any documented association with autism. Those findings were also replicated in a recent study from Japan, which also used a sibling control group to understand the roles of confounding factors like genetics and maternal health on a Tylenol association. So there is not sufficient evidence to support a link between acetaminophen and autism. And yeah, some of the studies that the U.S. has tried to use do not use sibling control, so they don't control for whether people came from the same mother or the same family. And lastly, you know, a lot of mistakes in the previous episode, a lot of mistakes. So, yeah, I was talking about stuff. Okay, what are we saying here?
So that was pretty impressive to me.
Oh, yeah, I was proud of myself. Oh, there's another follow-up from the follow-up segment. I was proud of myself for guessing the right number of episodes, 5, between one and another.
That I impressed myself with that I was able to guess correctly. It was exactly 4 episodes prior that we were
But
talking.
then I said 4, and it was 5. I was so proud of myself for guessing 5, and then I said 4, but it was actually 5.
And I've been defending you. I've been saying how you're a silly goose. You know, that's one thing I've made very clear about Brian Kilmeade. He is a silly goose. We talked about that in you know, probably 5 episodes ago.
Right, and then I just said 4 like a minute later. So a little bit silly. I was being a bit of a silly goose. Okay, so that's it. We're not going to do improv today because I think you've all, enjoyed enough here. I now thank the members and the patrons because I really appreciate you all giving your money to me. It's helpful, and I feel free to do more of that. Next episode will be private as well as the one after that. So the Verbal Journal next 2 weeks will be private episodes just for members and patrons, and we will be back to the public, but you missed a lot of good stuff. You know what I mean? I'm doing stuff behind the scenes. There's all kinds of things going on here on the pod. So you do want to probably become a member or a patron if you have disposable income. No worries if not, obviously. Okay, thanks to the members on YouTube for obviously member of the What's Therapy channel. You can't become a member of the Verbal Journal podcast channel because we're not monetized. So just become a member of the main channel. We got some new members from the video. Thank you, Sussinate, Colycraft. Those were 2 different ones. Thank you, Succinate and Colycraft. And then thank you to the other members, Little Mia, Matthew, Jasmine, Simply Snaps, Jifa, Hollow Moon, and Pit Inhabitant. And over on the Patreon patrons, in order from newest to longest serving patrons. Wow, 60 patrons. Thank you, CJ, Ben's Life, Brandon, Handyman, Felix, Marcy, Bun, Will, Downcast Lashes, Stepan, Cool Beans, Spaghetti Gal, Isabel, Milky Way, Ryan, Jay, Grace, Raymond, Garrett, Simply Snaps, Caffeine, Parker, Dakota, Aiden, Noah, Burrow, Perpetually Jackson, A, Islack, Miranda, JP, Ibnomad, MK, Matt, X, Noah, Anastasios, King, Tom, Hugh, Redgrove, Elemancy, Platinum, Sarge, Rabid Dog, Ian, Russ, Irene, MJ, Ludwig, Ryan, Madeline, and Mr. Moxie, Brent, Molly, Ashley, Scott, Luca, Gunther, Thulusaurus, Rex, Miles, and User. Wow. I want it to get so long that the whole episode is me just reading people's names. Cool. So that's that. You know what I mean? Slap it on down and let's get out of here. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, night, evening, morning, middle time, afternoon, and so on or whatever. And stay cool and stay fresh. And I will talk at you soon. Okay. I appreciate your time and I will be continuing to appreciate your time. I have a hard time ending this. Oh, I should. Oh, yeah. No, that's a good one. I'll do that. No, that's a good idea. Bye. This is a podcast.